Is it time for me to finally ditch my AxeFx in favor of the Quad Cortex? Well, today we're gonna put them head to head in a chug battle, and we're also gonna compare the 5150 amp models in each of them with the real block letter 5150. What's up everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Taylor and I really feel like I need a better way to say hi. Salutations. I don't know, if you have any ideas of how you would like me to greet you, let me know in the comments, but today I got out the 5150. Really, I'll make any video as an excuse to get out the 5150 and chug on it for a little bit. I'm gonna play through this guy to give you sort of a baseline, and then we're gonna check out the 5150 models on both the AxeFx 3 as well as the Quad Cortex, and I will give you my thoughts and opinions on how they differ and the things that I like or don't like about each of those. And then at the end, of course, as with any chug battle, we'll shoot it out in a mix. Okay, it's pretty much how I always have my 5150 set up, and this is what it sounds like. And this is just the amp. I'm not boosting it or anything. I just wanted the most raw representation of this tone possible. So we can actually maybe bump the gain here a little bit. I love this sound. I mean, it's very simple. I really love this tone. And you know, the more amps that I play and the more I come back to it, the more I think that the 5150 is pretty much just the perfect tone. And some of the things that I really love about this amplifier is how easy it is to dial in. There's no like weird sweet spots or tricks that you have to know to get it to come alive. It's just pretty basic and pretty self-explanatory. And also, if you look down here at this resonance control, I have this resonance control pretty high. And actually, I could probably cut that low end out a bit there. And the thing that I think is really cool when these amps have resonance knobs or deep controls is you sort of get this like thumpy low end that you don't get with a bass control typically. So very specifically on this amps and really most amps that have like deep or resonance controls, I tend to ride that deep resonance control a little bit higher and bump back this bass a bit. Bump back this bass a bit. It's a tongue twister. So those are the things I really like about this amplifier and the things that we're gonna see the AxeFx 3 and the Quad Cortex can recreate. Probably can. I'm sure it's gonna be fine. All right, we'll get out the Quad Cortex next. I need a second to hook that up here. Okay, so I have the PV505 amp loaded up here on the Quad Cortex. I'm gonna dial this in the same way that I had that 5150 set up, and we can see how it's responding to the same settings. So this is pretty much how I had my 5150 dialed in. Okay, so let's get this right out of the way. In terms of feel, I don't notice any difference. I think that they both feel more or less the same when I play them. Now in terms of tone though, the Quad Cortex is like really cleaned up a little bit. Like to my ears just sitting in the room, the 5150 has this sort of like nasty sound, and the Quad Cortex sounds like it's just sort of refined that a little bit and like it's just a little bit cleaner. If that makes any sense. Now, in terms of controls that we have on the amp block on the Quad Cortex, we have the same exact controls that you would find on the actual amplifier which is great, but we don't have any additional options, which you will find on the AxeFx 3, which we will get to in just a minute here. Just in terms of form factor, I kind of like this form factor a little bit more in some ways. I really like that the Quad Cortex is just as competent of a floor unit as it is on a desktop, especially with these rotary knobs being able to control the controls on the amp block. I think it's a really nice touch. And if these aesthetics aren't important to you, that's fair, but for me, I really actually enjoy them, and I really enjoy using this on my desk. It's all metal too. It just feels nice. It's like having a Ferrari on your desk or something like that. All right, now let's hook up the AxeFx 3 and I'll give you guys my thoughts on that, and then we will do the shootout. Let's do that now. All right, I have the AxeFx 3 loaded up. We have the PVH-6160 block amp loaded up. The settings are dialed in exactly the same as they were on the Quad Cortex and on the 5150 head. So what I'm hearing right now is somewhere in between what the Quad Cortex was doing to the actual amplifier. The actual amplifier, of course, still being like just that raw, sort of nasty sound. The Quad Cortex being a lot more polished, a lot more refined, and the AxeFx is sitting somewhere in between those. It still feels like there's a little bit more compression in the low end compared to the actual head, but I think this is actually a little bit closer, if I'm being honest. Actually sounds really good. Okay, now one of the coolest features on the AxeFx, especially if you are a total tone questing nerd like me, no shame. I'm gonna try and zoom in on this, but apologies if the resolution doesn't hold up. But you can actually go in and adjust all sorts of different parameters that you wouldn't normally have access to, or you shouldn't have access to on the real amplifier. On the main page, you have all the same controls that you would have on the head, but if we go in here and start deep diving, there are a ridiculous amount of controls. Not only is there a built-in boost on the amp block if you wanna save room on your signal chain, but there's also stuff here like power tubes and bias and sag and transformer matching, and all sorts of different features that change little nuances of the tone that no other amp modeler provides. So for example, if I wanted to go in here and swap out those 6L6 tubes for maybe something like KT77s, we would get this. Maybe we want to swap out those power tubes for something completely different, like EL34s. And that's just the power amp tubes. You can swap out the preamp tubes, you can adjust all sorts of different parameters. And that's one of the reasons that I really enjoy the AxeFx. I think you can get a much more unique and nuanced tone with it than you can with pretty much any other gear out there that I can think of. But of course, it's only one thing to take my opinion of it in the room, listening to it. Let's actually take the much more objective approach and shoot them out in a mix. All right guys, so what did you think? Did you prefer the Quad Cortex? Did you prefer the AxeFx 3 or did you prefer the real amp? Let me know down in the comments. I will definitely not be getting rid of my AxeFx 3. It serves a completely different purpose for me, especially it being in this rack and being sort of like an automated live rig. That is mainly what I use it for, and it does that really, really well. I really like the Quad Cortex. I enjoy using it a lot. I enjoy using the capture feature the most on the Quad Cortex, but it's gonna live on my desk. I don't think it's something that I will ever use live just because I don't really want to step on it and scuff it up. It looks nice. I want to keep it looking nice. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, make sure to hit the like button, consider subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.